excited about being here. I love this room in the Jerusalem Center. It's just an awesome room. As you know, if you've been here before, we're muting your mics as you come on board today. So if this is your first time joining us, please be aware of that. We're asking that you type your questions into the chat row. Jamie and Ashley are monitoring the Zoom chat. Mark Ye is monitoring the Facebook feed. So please be aware of that. Also, don't send private messages to the Travel With Us host, as that is not being monitored. So if you have a private message or a question that you want to ask, send it directly to Jamie or Ashley, and they will get it to us so that we can respond, James or myself, as we talk. So once again, we're letting everyone come into the webinar here for a second, but we want to greet you, all of our friends and our family from around the world. It's always kind of heartwarming, James, as we see the Zoom roll start up and people from all over the world are greeting us. That's really pretty cool. I always enjoy that a lot. And to get here in Jerusalem and see some of those people. So as you're coming in today, once again, your mics are being muted. If you have a question, send it to Ashley or Jamie if it's a private question. If not, just roll it into the chat roll there and they will answer that for you, or get the answer, sending it to James and Ryan and myself. So we'll give everybody just a second. I'm not going to tell you what the weather's like in Kentucky today. I haven't been to Kentucky for about 7 weeks now, so I have no idea what the weather's like, but I think it's not been as nice as it has been here. It's in Jerusalem today, it was 60 degrees, rained this morning for a while, but the sun was shining when I came down here just a bit ago to do that. So we've had some great weather here the last little bit. So you're missing out if you're not with us. We really are sorry you're not here with us. So we're going to go ahead and get started now. I think that everybody's on board. I can see most of you coming into the room there. There have been a lot of changes, as you know, in the last little bit going on in COVID protocol requirements in Europe, the Holy Land, Jordan. It's just like a moving target that Ashley and her team are trying to keep up with, and they're running and listening and reading everything they can to make sure that they're giving us the most up-to-date information. And we're going to be talking about some of those in just a little bit, but more exciting about that, it kind of signals a time that people are really getting enthused about travel again. It's so exciting to see people. When we were here in June, of course, there was no one hardly at all here. And when I got here a few weeks ago, there were just a few, but now, James, it's picking up, and more buses, more pilgrims at all the sites each and every day. So that's pretty exciting.
It is exciting. It was exciting to be there with you, and just to see, more people there. It's still a fraction of what it normally would be, but and really pilgrims from all over the world. Now I don't know who was in the olive tree from dinner, if they were from the Philippines, or there's a big group there from someplace other than the United States, I think.
Yeah, Domitians, I think. They're having a good time, though. I can tell you that. They're having fun. So we're going to talk today about Ireland, Scotland. We're going to give you some insights about those. James is going to introduce you to a very special person who's joined our team in just a little bit. He's going to be telling you a little bit about her and letting her share with you information about herself. And then I'm going to share with you about our latest familiarization tour offers. So hang around for those at the end. So James, you just completed your whirlwind tour of the Holy Land. How'd your flights home go?
Flights home went on schedule, smoothly. So I was with you yesterday morning and here today. So that's always a good thing when no delays, and yeah, everything. We took a PCR. We took a rapid antigen test to leave Israel, actually on the way to the airport. Got the results in 15 minutes, checked in, and yeah, nothing unusual.
Great. So, well, you missed a wonderful meal yesterday that G's mom prepared for me down in the old city. It was pretty amazing, I have to say. It was outstanding.
Taking another one for the team, right, Tom?
James, somebody's got to do it. I'm trying to catch up with you. Some of you may not know this, but James has quite the reputation worldwide for knowing some of the best places to eat anywhere in the world you want to go. I had a pastor the other day message me and say, Tom, can you check with James about this place? James came back with a whole litany of things and stuff. It's astounding. But we got to have a great meal down in the old city the other day, sitting in the market in Jerusalem there, eating food from Georgia, not the state, but the country. And I'm still curious, James, as to how you ever found that place.
Well, I did one of the night market tours one time, and that was my favorite spot we stopped at. We sampled things going around. I said, I'm going to come back to this place. It was our favorite on that tour. And sure enough, we Googled Georgian food in the market and came up there, recognized the place, and it was unique. Or I think they call it Georgia or something. I don't. It wasn't Georgia as we would say it, but some interesting fare. And I figured, you didn't have a favorite Georgian restaurant, so might as well get one on your list.
We've got one on the list now. That's exactly right. So can't wait for Camille to get to come over and show her some of these places and get to have some of the opportunities to try out some of the great foods. That's one of the things that G's mom asked me, is there anything you won't eat? I said, I'll try it all once. And she didn't disappoint. But I know we'll talk later about some of how you found things, James, here in the Holy Land, but you got a special guest with you there today, right?
I do. I have Camille Bailey here with us, and Camille is our new Director of Guest and Tour Host Services. She joined the team at the beginning of February, so you've been here about a month.
Yeah.
You're still here. That's a good thing.
I'm still here. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. And just so you know, Paula King was in that position previously, and Paula has been dealing with some medical issues, which caused the need for her to step back and step out of that extremely challenging role. And so she is working from home now as she goes through her medical issues, and is actually doing tour host crediting. So she assumed that job as Camille came on to take her place. So, and since you're all our tour hosts, usually crediting is something that you're extremely interested in. So you'll have a familiar face to deal with in that realm. So Camille, you're new. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I born and raised in South Florida, first generation American. I am the third of 6 girls that my parents have, and my family comes from Jamaica originally.
Yeah, the Montego Bay area?
Actually, they've relocated, so my parents grew up in Kingston.
In Kingston, okay. So how did you become involved in the travel industry? Because you've been involved for a while, so give us a little history and how did you get there?
So definitely not by accident. I'm born and raised in the cruising capital of the world. So my first flight, I think, was at 6 months, and my first cruise at 4 years old. So I think it was a natural progression for me to end up in travel.
Yeah, sounds a little bit like me.
Yeah.
Very much so. Your family were big travelers.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think you can really, as you get to know Camille, she really has a passion for travel. Tell us your favorite country. I mean, I was surprised when I was interviewing you, and we talked for a little while before you came on board. Favorite country?
South Africa. Just the geographical diversity, being able to do the vineyards, safari. I did a cage dive with a great white shark. Don't think I'd do it again, but I'm happy to be able to say that I did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that
yes.
one. So, okay, we'll talk after. We'll talk after about the
shark dive.
Yeah, shark dives. Okay. So, why did you choose to join EO? What sounded? I mean, you've been in the cruise industry, and Camille's a pretty humble person. You've worked with actually all the Royal Caribbean brands, Royal, Celebrity, Azamara, and also at Carnival. Yes. So a lot of cruise experience. Why did you come to join Cedillo?
So I think very early in meeting you and meeting some of the other team members, it became very clear to me that we shared the same values, and company culture is so important to me, and I realized that this culture was very family-like, and I'm a family-oriented person. It felt good, and we also share a passion for purposeful travel, and so it was a very easy decision.
So what do you see? You've been here a month, and it's obviously been a month, probably unlike any other. We didn't travel for a couple of years, or traveled very, very sparsely, and we're ramping up quickly here.
Right.
So, what do you see as the biggest challenges? And we certainly have some.
Right. So I think much like everyone in the industry now, during the pandemic, we had to review human capital, right? And we're trying to ramp up to match demand. So I think that's what we're working through, but I have such a great team. And so I know that we will be better tomorrow than we are today, and we will stay committed to changing, delivering, and serving. So we
Good.
have a lot of good things ahead.
So, what are your priorities now as you see the challenges and we see the what we need to do as we ramp back up? You mentioned human capital. What are the steps you're taking at this point?
So currently we're recruiting and hiring. We will have a class starting. So it's making sure that we acquire the right talent that will come on board and really support our brand the way that our tour hosts and guests need to be supported. So we're in the process of hiring, and then we'll start our training class, and hopefully we'll have new hires on the floor in a month.
Yeah, technologically, you worked at the cruise lines, and
Yes.
you managed in a position very similar
Right.
at the cruise lines. Technologically, do you feel like we're up to par where we need to be there?
I think we're heading in the right direction. We have the right infrastructure. We're having the right conversations to get us to the next place. So yes, I do think we're there.
Good. So you expect some changes coming on
Yes.
that front as well.
Yes.
So tell me, coming back to a theoretical level, why do you feel like travel is important to one's faith journey?
So I think travel is a catalyst to growth, whether it's personal or in faith. I watched a movie once when I was a young adult, Pleasantville, and the movie starts basically in black and white, and as they become more and more exposed, they start to see in color. And I feel like travel does that same thing. You see the world in black and white, you read books, it's in black and white, and when you're actually able to experience it, it changes it in color forever, so you never see the world the same again. So.
You've been, you haven't been to Israel, the Holy
Not
Land
yet.
yet, so that's coming quickly in your future. But you've been to other places in the Eastern Mediterranean, correct?
I love Greece. I love Greece. I could retire in Greece. I think it's a possibility.
So you've been to Greece, I think you told me, 10 times?
Yes.
Favorite part of Greece?
There's a little village called Sahara. It's about 30 minutes from Zakynthos, and maybe an hour from Kalamata. But it's a beautiful, sleepy beach town it's just incredible. It never gets old for me.
Now I'm trying to think, that's on the western coast?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, I haven't been to the western coast of Greece, so I have a lot to learn from you. So anything else you tell the tour host today? We've had very heavy call volumes here the last couple weeks. Folks getting ready to travel in March. Any words of wisdom there, or how to best communicate as you bring new people on?
I think the team and I are trying to do a much better job at communicating that out and setting a really good expectation. I think right now, if we're outside of 90 days of travel, an email is always a great way to reach out to us and give us that time to get back to you. Within 90 days, definitely call us. We want to make sure that we're answering and addressing all your questions in a timely manner. But the call volume has been doubling week over week. So we're aware of that, and we just thank them for their patience, and we're going to get there.
Good. And if you leave a callback, pretty much the team's staying until those callbacks get done in the evening. So even though we close at 5, you could be getting a call back from us after 5.
That's right. The other night we had the team here until 8. And so, we make sure that we get to all of those callbacks, yes.
Good. Yeah. Well, we appreciate all you're doing, and
Thank you.
It's a challenging time. I hope I sold that clearly, that it was going to be a challenge. So.
Yeah, but it's great. I have the best team, so it makes it so much better.
Good. Yeah. Tom, do you have any questions for Camille? Tom, I think you're on mute.
I'm muted. I did that to myself too. So, Camille, you said you're one of 6 daughters?
Yes, number 3.
Number
My
three.
mom refers to us in numbers sometimes.
Oh, your dad must be a blessed man, I tell you. And a dive with a great white shark. Really?
Yeah.
That James, that beats my hot air balloon ride, sir. I'm sorry. I mean, and that's the one. James and I go back and forth about events that we're going to do and stuff. I'm gonna let James do that one.
That one?
Yeah, that he can do that one. I have no. You're braver than I am. I'm sorry. So,
Youth,
so,
youth. I had youth on my side then.
yeah. So, well, welcome to the team, Camille. I'm looking forward to working to you. I know you're going to have to get back to work and be leaving us because you got an office that's swamped up there. But, as Jane mentioned, we gave you a little bit of an introductory gift, right? 1 week on the job and the world suddenly opens to travel. The phones start ringing. I mean, you don't have to get bored, right? You're entertained.
Absolutely.
Yeah, war and a war too. I mean, what else could you know? And Camille, there was one question that came in here from one of our DTMs. The guests, I mean, we are still going with a guest services department and in the tour host advisor department, correct?
We are, but currently we for the guest services department, we only have 2 people staffed there. So our THAs are stepping in and helping out with that. So it is a much smaller department than what we've had in the past.
Right, but our new hires are going to be going into that.
That's correct,
Into a
yes.
larger guest services.
Yes, that is right.
Department. Okay, that was one question. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't missed anything while I
No.
was in Israel.
Yeah.
So I thought that was the plan.
Yes.
So, good.
Well, thanks, Camille. We really appreciate it. Looking forward to getting
Thank
to
you so much.
see you again real soon. And good to see you here today. I know everybody's going to be glad to meet you and get the chance to talk with you. Camille's folks that I got to meet her the other day, and just a gracious person. Really enjoy talking to her. And as you can tell, she's got enough experience world travel that she's even challenging James there now. So we got to travel you there, buddy.
Cage diving, balloon riding. I'm definitely behind her.
Yeah. You're falling way behind. But you know all the places to eat, right? So that's what's important.
And that's important.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So well, thanks, Camille. We'll let you get back to work. But the other night I had the opportunity to talk with Colin Nguyen. Colin is one of our providers in Scotland and Ireland, and we have a lot of interest in both Scotland and Ireland. We get a lot of questions about that, and so we called Colin up, and I had a chance to talk with him. So I hope you enjoy this interview here. Well, we're so glad to have you with us today, Colin. Thank you for being with us. We're on the same side of the world, at least. I'm in Israel. You're in Ireland, I take it at this moment. Where are you right now?
So I'm located in the south of Ireland, just outside of Cork City.
Well, both Ireland and Scotland are so beautiful, and a lot of folks want to come. I mean, my wife still talks about Ireland was one of her favorite places that we've ever visited, and the EU is changing some of the requirements and stuff right now. And so how are you guys getting ready for that?
Both Ireland and the UK have dropped that pre-travel test requirement for guests coming into Ireland or the UK if they are fully vaccinated. And also the UK had a day 2 test in place, which was a little bit inconvenient. And I'm very happy to say that they have dropped that as well. So no pre-testing requirements for vaccinated travelers. Unvaccinated will still have to, get that negative PCR test before coming in. But we're open, and we're very happy to welcome guests back into both destinations. I have to say there's such a sense of optimism out there right now. All of the hotels, the visitor attractions, the restaurants, the pubs, they're gearing up for tourists to come back in. And Tom, safety is still at the forefront for everybody. We want the guests to come in. We want them to travel safely around the destinations. So all of the suppliers that we work with have signed up to what's known as a COVID safety charter, or a good to go status. And that means that they will adhere to the very highest standards of hygiene and things like that, to ensure that the guests are well taken care of in the best possible way. So we are absolutely ready to welcome people back.
Okay, and then you said fully vaccinated. So could you tell me what that means to folks there?
Sure, and this is kind of still evolving, I think. You know, many have gone through 2 doses of the recognized vaccines out there, and some are now on their 3rd dose. So I believe, Tom, what the European Union are advising is that there should be no more than 270 days since your last dose. So that's something to keep in mind, that it is a possibility that that may be looked for, but it's not guaranteed right now.
Good. So Ireland itself, why is it such a great place for faith-based touring?
We have such a rich religious heritage throughout the country. You know, our patron saint of St. Patrick, we're celebrating that now on the 17th of March, his national day. But he has sites dotted right across the island, from Downpatrick up in Northern Ireland to Croagh Patrick on the west coast, and to the Rock of Cashel on the east coast. So people can trace St. Patrick's footsteps as he moved, you know, around Ireland. And we have such world famous monastic sites as well. So we've got Glendalough, which is in Wicklow, just south of Dublin, and a similar site called Clonmacnoise in the centre. We also have a fantastic Marian shrine out at Knock in County Mayo. So there is so much, you know, to see and do for a pilgrimage tour or a faith-based tour in Ireland.
Great. So how's that different from, we'll see if we go to Scotland then?
Well, I mean, Scotland, you know, has its own fantastic and fascinating history, you know, with the various saints that they have. So, for example, St. Andrew is the patron saint of Scotland, and his sites can be discovered in the town of St. Andrews, close to Edinburgh. Many pilgrimage tours or faith-based tours going to Scotland will certainly make a trip out to the Isle of Iona. And this is where St. Columba founded his monastery. He also has connections to Ireland and the Book of Kells, which can be found at Trinity College. But there's other key religious sites in Scotland, such as St. Mungo's Cathedral in Glasgow or St. Giles's Cathedral in Edinburgh. And touring Scotland really offers that opportunity as well to learn about that, you know, fascinating Scottish Reformation history as well. So, you know, it's varied across both islands, and, you know, there's definitely something to suit a lot of different needs there.
Tell me about John Wesley. I mean, I was surprised, Colin, to find out that in toto, he spent 3 years in Ireland.
Yeah, it is surprising, you know, and having read up a bit on it myself, you know, he's toured the entire, you know, country, but, you know, many people would not really have recognized that. And, you know, while there might not be, you know, key tourist attractions in his name, there's certain areas that you can travel to across the country where he has preached, for example. But in Dublin, I think it's where you'll find most of Wesley's history in Ireland. You know, you can obviously visit Trinity College, St. Patrick's Cathedral, and I believe where he first preached in a church called Mary's Church. That's actually now a very famous restaurant and bar in Dublin, but our groups still enjoy visiting there, you know, see that that's where he first did preach, and we can put on a nice lunch for them or there as well. Yeah, it is fascinating to know that he traveled right across Ireland.
Yeah, I was in St. Church at the bar there and the restaurant, and set up in the balcony. Fascinating place to go, and just, you know, the crypts and stuff that are there. I mean, it was really pretty astounding. You know, when we talk that area, Celtic Christianity always comes into play. So what are some, you mentioned earlier, the Isle and stuff, but what are some of the sites that folks would visit and could look forward to seeing?
You know, we mentioned the Isle of Iona in Scotland as one of the key, you know, Celtic Christianity sites. As you move down into England, for example, you have the beautiful holy island of Lindisfarne, you know, which is only accessible by a causeway. So we have to time the tides very, very correctly there to make sure we get guests over. But in Ireland as well, I also mentioned, the sites of Glendalough and of Clonmacnoise, and this is where you'll get to see those very unique Celtic high crosses and round towers. You've got the likes of Rosslyn Chapel, obviously made very famous by its, featuring in Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, but that's a, very unique Celtic Christianity site. Plenty of options across both islands.
So what are some of the cultural experiences that folks could be able to, in both Ireland and Scotland, Colin, you would suggest for folks?
It's not a faith-based experience, but it's one that's very close to Irish traditions, and that's music. So we work with a fantastic couple on the west coast of Ireland who run the Doolin Music House. And the Doolin Music House is owned by Christy Barry and his partner Sheila Quinn. And Christy is one of the most renowned traditional Irish musicians in the world. So he's opened up home, and he'll invite our guests in to sit in the living room to enjoy a traditional Irish music session. He'll tell the history of how traditional Irish music started in the town of Doolin close by. And, he'll teach the guests how to play an instrument, or, the story of a particular musician that he's worked with. And his partner, Sheila, is actually a local artist. So Sheila also gives our guests a tour of her art studio and just show them the different pieces that she's working on. So that's a really kind of unique meet the Irish people experience on the west coast of Ireland. Scotland is amazing for all these beautiful castles that are dotted around the country. And up in the north of Scotland, just outside of Inverness, is a castle called Brody Castle. And what we do there is we give a guided tour of the castle, but it's led by the head housekeeper. It just gives a different perspective of what it was like to work and live in a beautiful castle in Scotland. So there's just two interesting things that you can add in to your tours of either Ireland or Scotland.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned St. Mary's earlier. While we were there, they were doing Irish dance, which is fascinating to me. How those folks move that quickly, I don't know.
Yeah, it's fantastic, Tom. And what's interesting is if you go over to Scotland, and their national dance is quite similar to the Irish dance as well. So that whole Celtic culture of music and dance can be seen across both Ireland and Scotland.
How would you encourage our hosts and our guests to say, here, let's fire them up and get them to Ireland and Scotland? What would you say to them?
It's about really, again, the people. And like going back to the start of the conversation, when I was saying that there is such enthusiasm out there right now for guests to come back into the destination. So I am 100% confident that when your guests do arrive, they're going to be treated very, very well and go home with lasting memories for sure. In addition to those kind of different experiences that I spoke about, the scenery is absolutely amazing. It changes as you move from one country to the next, whether that be England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, or Northern Ireland. But both countries as well, Tom, are fantastic culinary destinations. So we are two islands. We've got the coast and the sea at our doorstep. So we've got fantastic seafood. There is just, what I would say is there is so much to do and see in the destination, on top of, the best hook of all, which is they are two fantastic faith-based destinations.
Well, listen, Colin, thanks for being with me this afternoon. I guess it's afternoon or early where you are, but we really appreciate you doing that, and look forward to getting to travel with you and meeting with you.
Absolutely. Anytime, if you're over in Cork again, I'd be delighted to meet up and show you around.
So thanks to Colin. We really appreciate him being with us, James. He sounds like such an interesting guy. I can't wait to talk to him more.
He really is, Tom. It's a real pleasure to partner with him and lead people around Ireland and Scotland. And, I thought he did a good job with the faith-based things. I remember my first trip to Ireland. I didn't realize how much the Irish monastics kept Christianity alive in the Dark Ages, and how they, I think in Clonmacnoise they have where all the Irish missionaries basically went in Europe and really kept Christianity going. So a long, rich Christian tradition in Ireland and of course in Scotland as well.
Yeah, that's great. I've done the Wesley stuff in Ireland, but I've never focused on the other parts of it. So I look forward to the opportunity to get to do that.
Yeah, he didn't mention golf, by the way, Tom. I don't.
You know, he
That
kept
was a
talking
highlight
about
for me.
St. Andrews.
So
For sure, he's going to talk about golf at some point. But
very good. Well, as Tom mentioned earlier, I just returned last night from the Holy Land, and tourism is starting to rebound and feel like normal. My observation were that masks were optional just about everywhere, and I think Tom would agree with that. Certainly in the olive tree, they're optional. And life as a whole is returning to normal. I did, for the first time, I did something new this trip. I took the train from the new high-speed train from Tel Aviv back to Jerusalem. And we did have to wear masks on the train, but it was a smooth ride going, and traffic is challenging. So figured I would do that for a first, and that stops at the airport and goes on. So if you're ever traveling independently, I would certainly recommend the train. We do want to, the rules for Israel changed again starting March 1st. We actually didn't get the final set of rules until February 28th, which was a challenge to our groups actually leaving on February 28th. But they did change. I think everything's stable now with the rules. So we will, I think we have a slide here for those, and we will review each of the rules quickly. So the first rule, and this is a change, a PCR test has to be taken 72 hours before the flight that lands in Israel, before the departure time of the flight that lands in Israel. An antigen test is no longer acceptable for entry into Israel, unfortunately. Actually, I've traveled the last 2 times on antigen tests, but the rules changed. It has to be a PCR test now, 72 hours, or they did clarify this, a positive lab-approved test result, positive as in positive for COVID, received within 3 months of departure, but not more than 3 months and no sooner than 8 days. So you can have COVID the week before, basically, before you enter Israel. So there are those 2 routes in now. We do recommend going the PCR route because you're still going to take that test before you land and or when you land. And so if you have a negative PCR result here before you leave, you should be assured that you're going to have a negative PCR test when you land in Israel. So, and then also before you travel, you have to complete a health declaration form approximately 24 hours before arrival or before a border crossing. I'd love to tell you that you could do those a week ahead of time, but it is literally, they time those 24 hours before. And then vaccinated guests, you complete those. Vaccinated guests will be issued a green pass. Pretty much the green pass requirements have almost been totally eliminated in Israel, so no one's checking anything from my recent trip here. So that's symbolic. You'll need that to get into the country, and then I don't think you'll need that going anywhere else going forward, but that's the system as it stands now. Unvaccinated guests can now enter as of March 1st. They will receive an entry statement. So the big change here in travel, or unvaccinated guests can again travel to the Holy Land, but they have to go through the testing as you see there. Digital copies of both, either the Green Pass or the other, will be accepted by airlines when checking in. You don't have to print it out. I'm always one of those people that I'd like to have everything printed out. I don't 100% trust my phone battery will be working all the time. So I'm just paranoid about that. But you can do it totally electronically, and I have done that. So Now, once you land, so vaccinated, unvaccinated can now travel. Once you land in Tel Aviv, a PCR test will be taken upon arrival. That has not changed throughout tourists returning. It is the same PCR testing taken as it has been throughout. There will be a 24-hour isolation period or a negative result, whichever is faster to begin the tour. Really, in recent weeks, folks have been getting out of isolation to begin their tour as normal. Results may be taking six to 8 hours. So that really hasn't been an impact as it was, I think, in late January. We had some issues just when they were going through their peak. The testing was being delayed. So Israel is well out of their peak. They are, I think, down 85% in total numbers, and their serious cases that have been in the hospital have gone down by about 60% now and declining really every day. So we still can't do touring on arrival day, but that's okay because just about every flight arrives after 3-4 p.m. and it's still dark there. So you'll just go straight to the hotel, you'll have dinner in your room, you'll do the isolation period, you'll be ready to go in the morning. Next we have, we wanted to bring up, because we've talked so much about Israel and these requirements, and those are the March 1 requirements, and I think that's what we'll be seeing here for a while, unvaccinated allowed to enter along with vaccinated folks. But we tend to forget about the Jordan and the Egypt extensions, and I apologize, that's my fault. We've been so focused on Israel, but the Jordan and Egypt things actually caused the most, I guess, are the biggest difference. I was telling John here in studio while we're watching Colin that's really the biggest change out of our operations there is just handling everybody going to Jordan and Egypt on extensions, because they have a little bit different rules. The good news is as we're seeing around the world, these rules are relaxing. So Jordan has relaxed all restrictions on testing. So you don't have to get tested before you cross. You don't have to get tested when you cross. So really the only test you have in Jordan is the test to come home. So for those going on the Jordan extension, outside of the test when you arrive, you don't get tested again in Israel. You only have the return test in Jordan. There's still a health form required, but like all these forms, they tend to change. So the health form for Jordan, while we were there this past week, it actually got simpler. So that was good news. But you still have to fill out that health form. Our team in Jerusalem in the olive tree will help you fill out that health form, and they will get you on your way expeditiously. Jordan does require proof of health insurance, as does Israel still. Again, we recommend some kind of insurance. That's not always checked, but it is still definitely required to enter both Israel and Jordan. And then Egypt has its own little sets of challenges. I almost think Egypt invented the QR code back with the pharaohs. So they are really requiring some kind of document that has QR proof. And our team helps everyone download the Clear app, and they have a QR code, and that helps them get in. We've also now, I think yesterday, found a lab that will give us a PCR test with a QR code on it. So you do have to still take a test before you go to Egypt. And let's see. And need to be vaccinated. And I think that vaccination rule for Egypt will be changing as time moves on to Egypt. So those are the new rules. I know that's a lot. It's become easier. So that's the good news. And we will see how we progress, not only in the Holy Land, but also in other countries. But we do have some testimonials for you to see here, about 3 minutes worth from people that have traveled with us in February, just this past month.
My name is Dan, and this has been a great spiritual journey for me. I know the story of Jesus, but to be able to be here and witness the areas where Jesus served his ministry has been a wonderful experience.
It was very cool seeing like all the sites and like getting more background on the Bible, and like it's just a very cool thing, like saying when you read a verse in the Bible, like, oh, I've been there.
and what an incredible experience, and so few people right now, as people are continuing to come back to Jerusalem, to the Holy Lands, to experience it. But it has been just a wonderful pleasure to have the time to pray, to worship, to reflect on our Savior, Jesus Christ, ministered to the men and the women and the children of this place 2,000 years ago, and then went to the cross to die for each and every one of us. It has been a life-changing experience, and I will hold on to these memories forever.
I think COVID gave us a great gift this trip. It was very different than my first trip. We were able to spend a great deal more time at each of the places and have really some very meaningful worship. And our guide and bus driver and everyone connected with it helped to make it not just about the geography and not just about the archaeology, but really about a spiritual journey. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful trip.
I've never felt so close to Jesus in my whole life. And I want to thank EO for organizing, planning all the events. It was just fantastic. We appreciate your efforts. It made our tour so enjoyable.
We are in Ein Gedi today, and it is a beautiful day to be here, to experience the place where King David fled from Saul. It is incredible, and you should definitely come on this journey to see history come alive.
I have enjoyed so much learning both what happened many, many years ago and what's happening right now, and how we live our lives, and how we need to all come together as one. So this has been a blessing for me spiritually and emotionally, and as a citizen of the world. Thanks.
It has been a really wonderful time. Not the usual hustle and bustle of Jerusalem. The crowds are way down. So we've had a very contemplative time to spend at all the sites, to pray, to be there at length, to not have hundreds of people jostling with us. It's been a very different experience in Jerusalem in the past. So I'd encourage you to come on. We have never felt unsafe. Our group has bonded together, and I hope you will come. And I thank Educational Opportunities and all those who worked on this trip to make it really a life-changing pilgrimage, and one we'll remember for years to come.
The food's been fantastic. We've been safe everywhere we've traveled, and it's just unexplainable.
This is day number 8 on EO's travel of the Holy Lands. I'm having an absolutely great time. Nader's been awesome. Always felt safe. The food's been great, and just blessed to be here. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate all those who contributed to our testimonials there, and really appreciative of all of our tour hosts that have continued to press on and to travel, because I know it wasn't easy, just with not knowing whether any of us could go until the very last minute. So appreciate everyone's diligence in that and their patience as we work through things. I've told folks that, you know, we at EO, we tried not to put anyone's money at risk. So it just with that shotgun restart, if you will, on January 9th, the team here has been having to put together all the flight arrangements and everything, because we didn't want to put people at risk for utilization penalties or writing tickets too soon that maybe they wouldn't be able to travel on. So it's been a very, very compressed period, but we're working quickly through that. You met Camille earlier. We're working diligently in the guest services department and the air departments, working as quick as they can, getting all the ticketing done there. I know I've been told by the team that we've had a lot of questions on the European protocols. We are expecting a whole bunch of announcements in March, as we can see in the whole. Yes, Tom.
Before we go to Europe, can we go cover just a couple of real quick questions for the Holy Land?
Sure. Sorry,
I'm sorry. Ryan just told me to interrupt you, so blame it on Ryan. But a question about the PCR test. If they transit through Europe, let's say they go from the U.S. to Germany, then to Israel, the PCR test needs to be done 72 hours before the flight departing Germany, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
And that's why we tend to say if you get the PCR test 48 hours before, you're safe. There is no scenario where you're traveling more than 24 hours. If you're having trouble calculating that, I would just think about 48 hours. Get that PCR test 48 hours before you depart, and you will be fine. If that makes it simpler for folks. 48 hours before you depart on your flight leaving your local city. Because there's no scenario where we have more than, we're taking from your local city to Europe 24 hours. So 48, you're fine. If you can't get it within 48, then we need to start doing some calculations to get to 72.
Okay, good. Well, I think that covers it. One question here. My understanding was a green pass for Israel was expiring, but you've talked about that a little bit already. You may want to just quickly say that again.
The green pass, as far as it being a functional document, as you need it for museums or restaurants or things, is no longer the case in Israel. I mean, maybe there's some concert or something you might need a green pass for, but in effect, you don't need that for just about anything happening in Israel. Certainly nothing happening on our tour is going to require a green pass, but that system is still in place to get into the country. So you have to show that you've completed those forms to give you the green pass. That's what they look at. But the only time they look at it, the airline employees look at it leaving on your international flight to Tel Aviv, and then they look at it at passport control, the green pass. But it's simply like an entry permit, but it's technically still a green pass.
Okay. Go on to Europe now, sir. Thank you.
And I think you could see from the testimonial videos that you could just see, looking at the crowds and everything, there were a couple of our guests that were wearing masks. That was their choice. And we always have a few folks wearing masks on each of our tours, I noticed coming through. But you could see 95% of persons in all that video footage were not wearing masks, just so you could know. So coming to Europe, things are changing rapidly there. We're going to see a lot of announcements in March. A lot are scheduled. On my way to Israel, I stopped in Zurich for a couple days to review Oberammergau arrangements and how everything was happening there. And I was really surprised in Zurich. Even in the airport, they weren't wearing masks, which, still here in the U.S. it's a federal law. So Zurich was largely unmasked, other than the train. I took the train every day to the place I was going. So the train still required masks, but that was the only thing in Switzerland that required masks. So you did have to, on this trip, we did have to prove that we had that last shot 270 days prior to arrival. But I think that rule, as Colin said, that rule may be going by the board. Germany is, I think, just requiring a test. It's still not clear. It looks like they're going to be changing the rules to just requiring testing going forward or vaccination. So I think we will see that happening in Europe as we get closer to the Passion Play season. Again, I suspect that we will see a general loosening of rules as we get to Oberammergau. We'll see also what the river cruise line is going to require. Initially, AMA Waterways is saying they'll require a booster shot, but again, I think if all the countries loosen up, they may change those rules as well. So if you can give us a little bit more time, if you can let us get through most of March here, I think we'll have a much better picture of what will be required. But I'm optimistic that it'll be very much more relaxed by the time we get to May and the Oberammergau Passion Play season. Tom?
Oh, great. Thanks, James. Thanks. Well, folks, we're really excited. Chat roll is just rolling like crazy over there, and Ashley and Jamie and everybody, Mark, are all working real hard to keep things informed there. We really, really appreciate that. So, James, it seemed like that most of the time we actually got to talk was while you were here was after most of our guests had retired for the evening, so we didn't chat much. Doesn't seem, but one of the things we did talk about was traffic. Lots and lots of traffic.
I think everyone bought a car during COVID in Israel, or at least everyone who didn't have one. So the public transport, it seemed to be a little less crowded than what it has been. The train certainly wasn't packed, and I was traveling during rush hours. So, and I think the other thing that's boosted the traffic is Israelis still aren't traveling internationally. I think they estimate somewhere 10 to 20% of their population is traveling internationally at any given time at a normal time period. So I don't think they've quite reached those levels. So there's still a lot of cars on the road. So it's traffic is certainly something we have to take into account as we plan our itineraries.
Yeah, it's affected a couple of itineraries here, which was really surprising. It's astounding that the rush hour seems to be almost like being in Atlanta or Houston or Dallas. Just all the time now there's traffic. So just plan for that when you come, folks. You get more time at the sites, but it takes you a little bit longer to get there. So more time to rest and listen to the guide on the bus. So we still are answering things there on the chat row, but while we do that, want to just highlight a few things for you that we've been talking about as we mentioned with Colin. We have several tours and trips to Ireland and Scotland. So I think that Shelby and John have some slides they're going to put up here for us. The first one, many of you know about our Wesley Heritage Tour. A lot of you are doing that. A lot of you have already done it. So we really appreciate that. Hope you'll continue to enjoy that. John Wesley and C.S. Lewis, our Lions of English Faith, our English Christian Faith, a great tour that I get really good reports on that people are liking. Celtic Christianity in Scotland. Dr. Priscilla Pope Levinson and Dr. Jack Levinson from SMU are leading that trip for us this year. And it's a great trip. Those are two wonderful folks that they're just a joy to be around. You'll enjoy meeting them and getting to know them if you travel with Dr. Levinson and Pope Levinson. Wesley in Ireland, as Colin and I were chatting, Wesley spent about 3 years in Ireland. So I didn't know that before going. The interesting thing, James, we mentioned golf. In Adair, there is a little bronze placard in the middle of one of the fairways there that said John Wesley preached here. And since he was in the fairway, he would have been safe from my drive because I would have hooked it over into the trees or something, I'm sure. So you might have hit him, though. You could have probably dusted him off the fairway.
Yeah, I probably would have. I tried to take out a couple ducks the other day when I in a round, and they were only about 20 yards in front of me. So,
Celtic Christianity in Ireland is another one of our tours there. You can see that coming up. Some great places there. Some of my favorite places there. Then there's the Treasures of Ireland. All these have a little bit different things. You can see the Cliffs of Moher there that are just really neat. Really enjoy that. Just don't stand too close to the edge because the wind gets up pretty good up there. Treasures of Ireland, we've got there, and then pilgrimage. And so pay attention to that one. Once again, some great sites. Then I want to mention for just a second some of our land tours that have been getting a lot of interest lately. Journeys of Paul in Greece and Turkey. James, since I've been here the past few weeks, I have booked 4 different hosts on this particular trip. There are just a lot of people wanting to do that trip. It's a great trip. In 2023, if I remember correctly, we're going to start in Thessaloniki and go to Athens instead of Athens to Thessaloniki, if I remember that correctly, but I may be misremembering.
Well, Tom, on this program, we actually do start in Athens and we go north because we actually drive across the border from Philippi and to Istanbul. So we don't have to go to the airport and go through all that rigmarole and then fly. So because Philippi and Kavala are very close to the Turkish border, so it's easy just to keep going on to Istanbul that way.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I was thinking of something else, and good. Thanks for helping me get that straight. we've got the Journeys of Paul in Greece. There you get to go to some great sites, as you can see listed there. Then if you don't want to do Greece and Turkey together, you can do Greece, then come back later and do Turkey. The Journeys of Paul in Turkey. That's an 11-day trip there. It's a really great trip. You get to see all the sites that you would want to see there, and take in a deep appreciation of Turkey. It's a wonderful place to visit, and both Greece and Turkey. I love going to both of those. They're just such fun to do. I've done many times the cruise, James, and stopped and run into Athens, Corinth. I'd gone into Kusadasi and Ephesus, but to get to do the land and see all the different sites just gave me a much broader understanding of what was there.
It's a challenging landscape for sure in Turkey. So you have a greater appreciation for Paul, and those mountains are pretty tall that he had to go over.
Yeah. 7 churches of the Revelation in Patmos, another great trip. Patmos is not on most of our itineraries, so a chance to do that. Hope that you get a chance to do that. And then a special one, a Cradle of Christianity tour with Ben and Ann Witherington. Dr. Witherington is, and Ann, his wife, will be on that trip leading, sharing, and talking about that. And so that's a really special trip. So look those up, check them out. Hope that you'll get a chance to travel with us. So James mentioned Oberammergau, that he had stopped there on his way to the Holy Land. Time is running out, folks. We're getting close here, James.
We are, and everything's on schedule in Oberammergau itself. The rehearsals are going well, so they are definitely starting May 14th. Saw one of the official invitations to the opening night when I was in Zurich. So everything is on track for that experience.
Great. Well, looking forward to that. So, if you haven't signed up yet, we still got a few spots left, right, James?
We do. We pretty much on all the programs. River Cruise cabins are a little limited, but to the selection. But everything else, you can find dates that spots. Some have a little bit more, some have fewer. So, and if you have questions about how many are left, please let us know. Everyone has an updated count on every departure date.
Great. So our familiarization trips, we want to highlight those to get you an opportunity to sign up for those. Our Jesus Walking Trail FAM is going to be in September the 13th. You can see that there. So I know that Jim Fraser out there, I saw his picture pop up a bit ago, is looking forward to that. Camino on the 3rd of October, the walking trail. And I know Jamie just was there and said he got to take a few steps on the Camino and walked a few miles. So we're glad to hear that. I'm sure he'll be glad to share his experiences with you. An England and Wesley FAM. We haven't offered this FAM in a while, so really excited about that. October the 26th. We're going to go on from there to Greece on the 2nd of November. And I know that you won't want to miss that. I mean, some great places there. I loved my Greece trip this past year and got to enjoy that. Spain and Portugal, folks. Spain and Portugal, we only have 10 rooms on this FAM, okay? Giving you a heads up, 10 rooms. If you want to go to Spain and Portugal, sign up now because it's going to go real quickly, I think, and get to beautiful, beautiful countries and get the chance to do that. That's going to be the 7th of November. Then on the 8th of November to Turkey, we would invite you to do that. Turkey familiarization trip. It's a great trip and you will certainly enjoy that. We have put out our registration for our celebration cruise for next year. It's going to be on the 6th of February. So please sign up now for that. We're going to be going, looking to all you Texas folks out there. We're going to be going out of Galveston. And so this is a first for us. So we're really expecting our Texas DTMs and hosts to step up and help us fill up that ship. And then a little over a year away still, but we're already going to let you know about it. We're going to Egypt on May the 16th of 2023. So you can start to dream about that now. I know it's a long ways out. James, thanks for being here today. We really appreciate it. And I think that Ashley and them have taken really great care of our chat roll. So thanks to Ashley and Jamie and Mark for doing that, for our design team there, for all the brochures and the flyers that they've been putting out. Ryan, Shelby, John for pulling together the webinar, and Camille for taking time to be with us. James, anything closing you want to say, sir?
No, just excited to be back and seeing people traveling, seeing flights that are pretty full instead of, having half a plane empty. So that's encouraging.
Great. Well, our next webinar is going to be March the 17th. We got a special one for them, right, James?
We do. Yeah, a lot of exciting announcements there, and I think we'll be able to further clarify a lot of the European regulations on that webinar.
Great. So, well, we look forward to seeing all of you folks again on the 17th of March. I'll be back in the U.S. by then, and if I wake up, I'll be joining you. Just teasing. So good to see you. Thanks for being